I've been a night security guard for almost 10 years now, and I've seen plenty of strange things. Homeless people sneaking in, motion sensors going off for no reason, even the occasional raccoon setting off alarms. But nothing, and I mean nothing, compares to what happened at Building 47. It's an old government property on the edge of the city. Half of it's been shut down since the early 2000s, and the rest is used for record storage. I was transferred there for a 2-week fill-in shift when another guard called in sick. The first few nights were calm. Just me, my flashlight, and the low hum of the old air system. The place was cold even in summer, and the halls always smelled faintly of damp concrete. At around 2 a.m. on my 4th night, one of the basement cameras started glitching. The monitor flickered, showing brief flashes of static and motion alerts in the corner of the screen. The weird thing was, no one was down there, and I'd locked that floor myself. I radioed the control desk, but the other guard on the morning shift didn't respond. Probably asleep, I thought. So I grabbed my flashlight and went to check it out. When the elevator doors opened to the basement, a blast of cold air hit me. I stepped out, and right away I noticed something off. The hallway lights were dim except for one flickering near the far end. The air was thick and heavy, like I'd stepped into a freezer. As I walked, my boots echoed too loudly against the concrete. It was so quiet that even my breathing sounded unnatural. Then I heard it, footsteps. Slow, steady, following mine. I stopped. They stopped. I took a few more steps, then heard them again just behind me. I spun around, flashlight sweeping the hall. Nothing. I told myself it was my imagination, maybe the echo bouncing off the walls. But when I reached the last door, the records room, the handle was warm. Too warm. That didn't make sense. The whole basement was freezing. Inside, the lights were off, but I could still see the rows of metal shelves lined with boxes. The temperature dropped even more, and the air smelled like burnt dust. That's when the security radio crackled to life on my belt. Static at first, then a voice, faint, distorted. "You're not supposed to be here." I froze. Sounded like me. My own voice. I pulled the radio off my belt, staring at it. "Who is this?" I demanded. No answer, just more static. Then, from somewhere between the shelves, I heard a low humming. It almost sounded like someone whispering a tune, soft and out of rhythm. I moved closer, flashlight trembling slightly in my hand. The humming stopped. Then, a box fell from a shelf with a crash. Papers scattered across the floor, and my light caught something. Footprints, wet and fresh, leading around the corner. I followed them. The trail ended at the far wall, where an old elevator shaft had been sealed years ago. The footprints stopped right at the metal door. I reached out, pressed my hand against it, and felt vibration like the elevator was moving. But that was impossible. The shaft had been decommissioned. Then the lights above me went out. One by one. I turned and ran back up the hallway, my flashlight beam cutting through the dark. I didn't stop until I reached the main lobby. When I looked at the security feed again, my blood ran cold. The basement camera showed me standing there, still in the dark, flashlight raised. Only, it wasn't live footage. It was looping. And in that grainy video, the version of me on screen slowly turned his head and smiled, right at the camera. I quit that job the next morning. A huge, echoing place that felt abandoned even during the day. At night, it was worse. The company kept us there to prevent theft from old cargo containers. My partner Carlos and I handled the overnight shifts. We'd walk patrols every hour, flashlights in hand, trying to stay awake. One night around midnight, Carlos told me he'd seen a light inside one of the storage sections. "Maybe someone broke in," he said. So we went in together, sweeping our lights through the aisles. Dust floated in the air, and the sound of our boots echoed far too loudly. Then came a bang, metal hitting metal. We ran toward the sound and found a shipping crate toppled over, its lid bent. No sign of anyone around. "Probably a rat," I muttered. But Carlos wasn't convinced. He pointed at a wall near the back where there was a small, chained blue door. That wasn't here before. He was right. I'd been on patrol in that section dozens of times, and I'd never seen a blue door. It was old, with paint peeling off, and the chain around it looked freshly broken. Suddenly, my walkie-talkie hissed. Static turned into a faint voice. "Don't open the blue door." Carlos laughed nervously. "Who's messing with us?" I called the control office. No answer. The generator was running fine, but the cameras were cutting in and out. Then from behind the door came a slow dragging sound, like something heavy sliding across concrete. We both froze. Carlos whispered, "Maybe an animal?" I leaned down and shined my flashlight under the door. What I saw made my stomach twist. A pale hand, long fingers twitching, scraped against the floor. It looked human, but wrong. I stumbled back. Carlos started praying under his breath. Then the generator shut off. Total darkness. The dragging sound grew louder, moving toward the door. We turned and bolted. Our flashlights flickered, beams bouncing off walls. When we reached the exit, the lights came back, dim at first, then bright. We looked back. The blue door was wide open. On the floor were wet footprints, leading out and stopping near the fence. Beyond that, nothing. The next morning, our supervisor came in early. We told him everything. His face went pale. He said the building had once been a temporary morgue after a shipwreck years ago. The blue door led to a cold storage room for recovered bodies. They'd sealed it because the structure underneath was collapsing. But here's what scared me the most. When maintenance checked that area later, there wasn't a blue door. No door, no chain, no footprints. Just a blank wall. Carlos quit that day. I lasted another week before leaving. Every time I pass those docks now, I swear I see a faint light glowing behind the warehouse windows. And sometimes when the wind hits just right, I still hear that dragging sound. I took a job at the Redwood Hotel last year. Nice place, expensive, polished, always booked. My job was to patrol the lobbies, back corridors, and basement levels. The basement was mostly storage, laundry machines, old furniture, boxes of linens. It was also the quietest part of the building, and I hated going down there alone. Around 3 a.m. one night, the front desk radioed me. "We've got a complaint from room 204. Guest says they hear screaming coming from the basement." I grabbed my flashlight and went down. Everything seemed normal, just the hum of the dryers and the faint smell of detergent. But then I heard it too, a soft, distant sobbing. It came from the far end of the basement where an old service door stood locked. The metal was rusted and the paint was peeling away. I called the desk again, but the line cut out. So I unlocked the door. The room beyond was narrow, lined with pipes, and colder than anywhere else in the hotel. My breath came out in white clouds. At the end of the corridor stood a woman in a maid uniform, facing the wall. She was crying, quietly, shoulders trembling. "Ma'am, are you all right?" I asked. She turned around slowly and my flashlight caught her face. Her skin was gray, her eyes dull and wet, and her mouth moved, but the sound that came out wasn't crying anymore. It was a whisper. "You shouldn't have opened the door." The bulb above us flickered, then shattered. I stumbled back, flashlight shaking in my hand, but when the light beam found her again, she was gone. Only a set of wet footprints remained, leading deeper into the tunnel. Against my better judgment, I followed them. They stopped at an old iron door covered in dust. Faded letters read, "Old Wing, closed since 1998. I pushed it open and my light revealed an entire forgotten hallway. Furniture covered in sheets, cracked wallpaper, cobwebs everywhere. Then I saw a photo hanging crooked on the wall. It was a staff picture from decades ago. My hand went cold when I recognized her, the same maid. Same face, same uniform. The next morning I checked the hotel archives. There was a maid named Marissa. She died in a boiler explosion 20 years ago, trapped in the basement during maintenance. They sealed that area off afterward. Here's the thing though, the door I opened doesn't exist anymore. The engineers checked. There's no tunnel, no hallway, no old wing. But sometimes when I'm working night shift and past the basement door, I hear that faint sobbing again. And if I pause long enough, I swear I smell detergent and burnt air, like she's still down there waiting for someone else to open that door.